So I don't have you on my roster yet. If I can get you to put your name and your student ID number on the sticky, then we'll get you a timekeeper number. Okay, folks, so we have 3 things on the docket for today. We're going to review some of the highlights of the syllabus. I'm going to show you a couple features of our course in MPC Online, and then I'm going to give you guys some time to register and log on to MPC Online and hopefully get through the assignment that you've got due by the end of the week. Okay, so that's what we're tackling today. Okay. I'm going to start with the syllabus. I've adjusted the formatting so it's a little bit bigger on the screen, so it might be slightly different than the formatting you have on the syllabus in front of you. So just be advised. I'll try to highlight the section I'm talking about as I'm going through. I'm not going to read this word for word. I'm just going to hit some of the high points. The activity that you have to complete by the end of the week is a syllabus quiz. So pay attention to what I'm going over here in class today and know that you've got that syllabus in front of you as you're taking the quiz. The quiz requires 100% or else you're going to have to retake it. So when you're given that time at the end of the class period, go slowly, ask me questions if anything seems confusing, make sure you're reading all of the options before you make a choice, that kind of thing. Okay. So here we are in English 401, which is a co-requisite for English 301. You guys probably already noticed that it's a package deal. When you signed up for English 301, you were automatically enrolled in English 401. What that means for you guys is that you've got 2 courses essentially that you need to maintain progress in over the course of the semester. So it's 2 instructors, 2 sets of assignments, 2 courses for which you need to budget time from week to week, 2 grades. Right? You need to get a pass in both the class and the lab in order to progress in the English sequence. So 2 things really to keep on top of. You've got 2 classes for the price of 1, really. Okay. If you drop one of the classes or get dropped from one of the classes, you'll automatically be dropped from the other. Okay. There's some information here on your syllabus about the rationale for the course, the student learning outcomes, the course objectives. These are all very general descriptors about the kinds of things that we'll be covering this semester. I'm going to jump down, though, to course materials. One of the things that you're going to need for the semester is your lab card. Okay, so take a look at this real quick. I'd like to touch on some of the features that are on this lab card. Your name is up at the top and your timekeeper number. Your timekeeper number is also at the bottom of the other side. This is one of the ways that we monitor your attendance in the lab. The first thing you do when you come to the lab will be to clock in. Last thing you do before you leave will be to clock out. Okay. Your list of assignments is here in the first column. You'll notice that the lab card is 2-sided, and it seems like an awful lot of work. But remember, we're talking about 16 weeks worth of instruction. So for any given week, you'll just have a handful of things that you need to accomplish by the due date. Okay. In the second column, you'll see that the print costs associated with that week are listed. So you know how much you need to have on your print card for that week in order to complete the assignments. Okay, so for the first 3 weeks, you don't really have any print costs. Starting at about week 4, you'll start to have to print out some things and have them reviewed with the staff member. Okay. We'll talk about GoPrint more in just a second. The third column here is for you to note whether you've completed an assignment. Okay, this is just something for you to keep track of your progress. If any of you guys are repeats to English 301, you no longer have to have a staff member sign off on your lab card. It's a new course, new content, new lab card. So this is for you. If this is something that's helpful for you to keep on track, then wonderful. Use this as a way to remind yourself what you've already accomplished and what you still need to do for the week. Keep in mind that there's a record in the computer as well of your progress, so there are 2 places you can go to check on how you're doing from week to week. In the last column are your due dates. So your first due date is what? Friday tomorrow. Okay. So your assignment, like I said, is that syllabus quiz. Hopefully I'll wrap it up in enough time for most of you to get that quiz done before you leave today. Okay, so you won't really have any further obligations going into tomorrow. Next week's due date is on Thursday. Does anybody know why? We have a long weekend, right? It's President's Weekend. So Thursday is actually the end of your school week next week. And then we get 4 days off, which is going to be lovely. Okay. You'll see that every week thereafter, your due dates are on Friday. And our hours on Friday are from 8 to noon. And so your due time is essentially at noon. Okay? Friday at noon is your cutoff for assignments. That is your lab card. And that's one of the things that you'll probably want to keep handy as you're working through the content for the course. The other thing, as I mentioned, that you'll want to get is a print card. Does anybody have a Go Print card already? Do you have one with you that you could show the class for those new students or those students who haven't procured one yet? Okay, it looks like this. Will you hold it up? Thank you. You can get a print card over in our copy center. You need $1 in order to purchase a print card, a $1 bill. You put in your dollar bill. The machine will charge you 50 cents for the plastic of the card, and then it will put 50 cents credit on your card. At that same machine, you can also add value. If I were you, I'd just put a few dollars on it so you're ready to go. You may have more printing than just for this course. There might be assignments for Miss Penny's class that you need to print. So it's a good idea just to put a few dollars on it so you're ready to go. The total print cost you'll need for this class is about $350. You may have access to printing elsewhere. So if you have a printer at home that works well, or if you have access to the Trio Learning Center where there is free printing, by all means, print wherever you see fit. Okay? Know that you'll have to bring those assignments, those things you printed out, back to the lab and get them reviewed by the folks at the desk. Okay? If you do have to print here, it'll be 15 cents a page. Questions about that? Okay. I'm here now in the general information section of the syllabus. My name is Adria Gerard, and I'm the instructor of record for this course, so it's my name that you see on your schedule of classes. But I want to jump down to this next section and touch on this briefly as well. There are a lot of you guys, a lot of sections of English 301, so there are a lot of lab students. So we have a lot of people here in the lab that can help you from day to day as you're working on your assignments. Any of the folks that you see at the desk, feel free to flag any one of them down if you're working on something and having trouble or having an issue, you have a question. Any of us can help you. Okay? If, though, it's a question about your grade, if it's a concern about getting dropped, if you've been absent for a while and you need to keep in touch with me about what's going on with your status in the class, those sort of administrative things are things that you want to get in touch with me about specifically. Okay, as the person who's doing the grading for the course and keeping in touch with your classroom instructor about your lab progress. Okay. I do want to mention to you that the primary way that I'm going to communicate with you is via email. And if you want to update your email address, that's probably a good idea, because I'm going to use the email address that MPC has on file. So if you need to change or update your email address, you can do that in your WebReg portal. Okay, so that same link that you go to register for your classes, once you're logged in, there's an option to update your contact information. Once you update your email in your WebReg portal, MPC Online will automatically be updated with your correct email information as well. A lot of you guys communicate via text message and via social media. I think you'll find, though, that in the business world and in the academic world, the primary form of communication is email. So that's the way that I'm going to keep in touch with you. That's the way probably many of your instructors are going to keep in touch with you. So it's really important that you have your email address updated so that if we send you some correspondences.
Remember I mentioned that the other day, I sent an email to the whole class the week before school started. So if you didn't get that email, I'm using the email address she's talking about. So if you can't find that email, you better get on there and check to make sure what email address is in there. Because you should have gotten an email from me.
And if you're like most people, you probably have several different email addresses, and maybe you've used a different one than you did when you registered for classes the first time. So it's worth getting into that WebReg portal and making sure that your information is up to date. Okay, my office is LTC 124. It's here on the first floor, just across the way on the other side of the floor over here. My office hours are listed here. Monday, Wednesday, 8 to 3. On Thursdays, I'm usually here late. Today, obviously, I'm doing orientation, so my schedule's a little bit different. But usually, I'm here 12 to 7 on Thursdays. And Fridays, our open hours are 8 to noon, and you can reach me during that time as well. The location of the class is the ESSC. And this is part of the ESSC. If you choose to work in this room, you don't have to, but if you choose to do your lab work in this room, this is designated a quiet area, and you can see some of the signs posted around the room. If quiet isn't something that's helpful for you to be productive, you're welcome to work on any of the computers that you see out here to the left. The majority of the computers you see behind you. Find any space that's comfortable for you. Okay? But remember, if you choose to work in here, there's no talking. Here are our hours. These are important to note because you will determine when you come down from week to week to do your lab assignments. So there's no set schedule for lab. You find those pockets in your schedule that you're available to complete your lab assignments. Make sure that we're open during those times, and it'll be up to you to determine when you get lab work done from week to week. Our hours are Monday through Thursday, 8 to 7. Friday, 8 to noon, as I mentioned. We have a few Sunday hours for those of you with crazy schedules. We're open from 9 to 1. Please note that we are closed on Sundays of holiday weekends. So President's Weekend, which is coming up next weekend, Memorial Weekend, Spring Break, we're not open on those Sundays. Okay. But we are open every other Sunday of the semester. Here are my email and phone numbers and addresses. Here's the front desk line, my office line, and my email address. I'm here in the attendance requirements section. The first sentence says, students are expected to devote 2 hours per week completing assignments by their due dates. That is an estimate. Okay? It may not take you 2 hours to complete the assignments for the course. Okay? The minimum amount of time that you have to spend in the lab is the amount of time it takes you to finish your lab work. But you can also spend as much time as you like down here to be successful in all your classes. So if you need help on an assignment from Ms. Penny's class, if you have a history class, an ethnic studies class, an anthropology class, another humanities class, any of these courses which require English skills or study skills, you can bring those assignments to us as well. If you just need a quiet place to work and be productive, you can use the ESSC for that. So spend as much time down here as is helpful for you to be successful in your classes. We'd love to have you. Okay? But you're not required to spend any more time than it takes to finish your lab work. Okay? All work for the lab has to be done here in the ESSC. So I mentioned your timekeeper number. That's just one of the ways that we monitor your attendance and know you're coming down and doing your work here in the lab. If we find that you have completed work outside of the lab, then we will strip the credit from that assignment and you'll have to redo it when you come back to the lab. Here's the drop policy. Students who fall more than 3 weeks behind in their lab coursework will be dropped. Okay, so there's a lot of flexibility built into your lab. 3 weeks should be enough time to resolve those work conflicts that may come up, to resolve family emergencies, hopefully, to recover from that cold or flu that you get here at the end of cold and flu season. 3 weeks is certainly enough time for you to get in touch with me and let me know what's going on so I don't drop you. Okay? So there's a lot of flexibility there, but do let me know. Keep those communication lines open. I've been gone for 2 weeks because my life has been crazy, but I swear I'm going to come back and I'm going to get a P in this class, so don't drop me, kind of a thing. All right? Okay. Assignments and grading. It's worth reiterating, you need to get a passing grade in the lab and the class in order to be successful, in order to move on to the next level of English. As I mentioned, I'm going to contact you via email if I have a question about your progress, if I'm concerned about you falling behind, or if I haven't seen you in a while. It is your responsibility to check your email and your grades to see if you've got correspondence from me. Checking your grades is also a way to double check my work. With so many of you taking lab classes, it wouldn't be crazy for me to have an input error and put the wrong grade in MPC Online. So if you're checking your grades, you can let me know when I've made an error. I will show you when we get into MPC Online how to check your grades. Here's a brief overview of what we'll be talking about and learning about this semester. We're going to be improving our proofreading skills, learning how to write really good paragraphs. We're going to focus a lot on sentence sense. So what a sentence is made up of and how to combine sentences correctly and effectively to communicate your ideas. Obviously, we're going to talk about punctuation and some time spent on pronouns. There are repeatability restrictions in place for all of the classes you take at MPC. It's essentially a 3 strikes policy. So you've got 3 chances to take a class and pass it. A W counts as an attempt. So if you've taken English 301, even if you dropped early in the semester, if there's a W on your transcript, that counts as one of your strikes. Okay? This is a retroactive policy, so even if you took English 301 a long time ago, it's still going to count on your record. If this is your 2nd or 3rd attempt at 301, please let me know if there's anything I can do to help you be successful so we can get you out of this class and on to the next one. A quick note about student behavior in the ESSC. There's only a few policies to keep in mind. 1, silent cell phone use. I bet every one of you in here has a cell phone, and that's good. Turn your notifications off, turn your ringer off. If you have to take a call, we ask that you do it outside so it's not disruptive to other students. Please no food or drink except bottled water in the lab. Okay, we're trying to keep it clean, we're trying to keep our computers functioning optimally, and the nicer we can keep the space, the better it is for the student who uses that computer after you. The ESSC is not affiliated with the library, so if you want to come down to the first floor and spend some time, you have to be working on academic stuff. Okay? If it's more socializing or browsing the internet for personal reasons, you can do that upstairs in the library. Down here in the first floor, we've got that academic policy in place. Sometimes daycare plans fall through. If you need to bring your kids to the lab, then that's fine. We have a designated area in which you'll probably be more comfortable. And we've got a policy posted by the front door that addresses a couple other concerns about kids in the lab. So review that if that's something that's applicable to you. Like I said, it's posted by the front door. There's an explanation here about MPC's definition of academic dishonesty and what the penalties are for being a cheater. If you are a student affiliated with Supportive Services, now called the Access Resource Center, please let me know if there are any accommodations I can provide to you. And a very quick plug about some of the other free things you have at your disposal as students at MPC. We have reading, tutoring, math tutoring, health services, obviously counseling and advising. There's lots of things that you can take advantage of as students. So let me know if I can point you in the direction of any of those services, and I'd be happy to do so. Okay. That was a very quick overview of the syllabus. The syllabus is long, okay, so I'll expect you not to memorize it, but to keep it handy as you're working on that syllabus quiz, to keep it in your binder to refer back to as needed throughout the semester. I'd like to spend a couple minutes talking about the program, the course in MPC Online that we're going to be using this semester, and then I'm going to turn you loose to go ahead and get working on that first assignment. MPC Online works best with Google Chrome. If nobody's told you that before, Google Chrome. All of the computers down here in the ESSC have the Google Chrome icon on the desktop. So that's where I'm going to start. How many of you guys have already used MPC Online? Any of you guys not familiar with it yet? Okay, you should be in good space. For those of you that haven't used MPC Online, the link to get there is up here at the top of your MPC website, right next to your WebReg portal. I'll review the login procedures for those of you that are new students. For now, I'm going to log on and show you a couple features. So bear with me for about another 10 minutes, and then I promise I'll give you guys some time to get started on your own assignments. I have a long list of classes here. Your list of classes will be shorter, but you'll be able to identify yours by the course name and the instructors associated with it. So you see my name here and Miss Penny's name as well. Okay, so quickly, if you need to change your password, you can do that up here in My Profile Settings, Change Password. To check your grades, as I mentioned, go into Course Administration. Now I'm in here as an instructor, so my course administration list is long. I don't even know what most of those things do. For you, you're going to have one link, it'll be your grade link. Okay, so that's where you'll check your grades. There are links over here under Course Resources, to the syllabus, the lab card. We've grouped all the handouts for the course into one document. If that's something that you want to print out and use in hard copy, you have the option to do so. Otherwise, all of these handouts, you'll see them as they pertain to that particular week's content. There's also a grammar glossary. You may encounter some vocabulary that you're not familiar with. Here's an alphabetical list of terms that you might come across if you need a quick definition. Here are our hours as a reminder. Here's my contact information. The last thing I want to note here at the top of the page are these section links. It can be quite cumbersome in a course this long to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling to get to the week's activities that you're currently working on. So use these section links to jump to the week that we're in. If we're in week 10, click on 10 and it'll take you right to that week's activities. Okay? Here's what the first week looks like. It's pretty simple for this week. Every week is going to have this same pattern, right? So once you get used to this pattern, you'll get used to sort of how the workflow will be for the lab. At the top of your week, which is highlighted in yellow, the current week that you're in, is the due date, right? That'll always be in red at the very top of the block. The learning objectives will be listed. You will then have that week's resources, which this week is just the syllabus and the lab card, and then this week's assignments, which in this case is a syllabus quiz. And every week unfolds in that same manner. So looking at next week, we've got the due date, we've got the objectives, we've got the resources, so handouts and videos for your review, and then the week's activities. Please know that you will not be able to access these activities until certain criteria are met. So you can't even click on activity 1 until you've done these things, which is essentially review the handouts in the video. Okay. You won't be able to access activity 2 until you've met the requirements for activity 1. So whenever you see a block of content for a week, it's meant for you to progress in the order in which you see the information presented. And that's meant to aid in your success because there are things in activity 2 that you will need information from activity 1 in order to be successful. To be most successful in activity 1, you're going to need that information from the handouts in the video. Okay? So you need to progress in the order that you see the items presented. And these links will become active once you've met the criteria. Okay? So for any activity 1, review the handouts and the videos, and you're ready to go. Okay? There are a variety of different kinds of activities that you'll be completing over the course of the semester. A lot of it's these quizzes though, so I want to show you a couple of features of the quiz, and then I'm going to let you guys go. You may also though have to from time to time print out a paragraph and do some editing, right, and have that editing reviewed with a staff member. There'll be other times where you need to write a paragraph and have that paragraph reviewed with a staff member. So there are different things that you'll be doing from week to week. Instructions are provided for you for every activity and exercise. Certainly ask questions as you're going through them when you have questions. Okay, here's what the quiz looks like. The focus of this week's quiz is identifying subjects and sentences. If you're trying to find the subject of the sentence, you ask yourself who or what the sentence is about. So if this is our sentence, small stones showered the windshield, what is the sentence about? The stones, right? So I'm going to guess stones. Small stones is an excellent guess. The subject is actually going to be simpler than that, because small is a descriptor, right, describing the type of stone. So small is actually an adjective and not part of your subject. That's all stuff that you will learn in the handouts and videos before you attempt a quiz like this. So I'm going to guess stones. Once I've made a guess, I have two options. I can either check my work and see how I did on that question, or I can click next. And there are some advantages to each option. If I click on check, I'm going to get some immediate feedback. It's thinking, okay. It tells me that I got it correct. It tells me a little bit about why I got it correct, so I can use that feedback going forward. I now, up here in the quiz navigation, have a green square, which is a visual cue, a reminder that I got that question correct. If I check my work again and I've gotten it incorrect, it's going to give me some feedback as to why I got it incorrect, so I can use that going forward in the quiz. Now you see up here that I've got a red box, okay, so I know that I got number 2 wrong. The reason I think that the check option is helpful is you need to get 80% on these quizzes in order to move on to the next activity. So this is a very clear way of determining whether you're on track to that 80% or not. Okay? If it's a 15-question quiz and you need 12 out of 15 to get 80%, and you've already missed 3, that's a good opportunity for you to review the handouts again in the video, or to raise your hand and get some help from somebody at the desk so that you don't have to retake that quiz. Okay? You will have to retake quizzes as many times as it takes in order for you to get 80%. Okay? I'm going to show you one more thing. If I make a guess, and then I just click next, so remember this is question 3, I've made a guess, I'm clicking next, it's not going to give me any feedback, it's just going to directly link me to the next question. And you'll see up here that number 3 doesn't have a red or a green associated with it, because I haven't checked to see whether I've gotten that question correct. Okay. The advantage of clicking on next is I can go back now to question 3 and change my answer. Once you've checked your work, you can't go back and change an answer. So that's sort of the advantage of the next option. And it's up to you how you navigate these quizzes. When you've finished an attempt, click on Finished Attempt over here on the left. You'll see now that you have a list of how you did. And remember, I made a guess for number 3. And so even though it says not complete, you have made a guess. Okay? That's a programmatic issue that we can't override. So just keep that in mind. Not complete doesn't necessarily mean you haven't answered it. It just means you haven't checked the answer. Okay. If you are done, you will submit all and finish. Again, then you have the option to again preview your answers and review. If you have to take the quiz again, it's probably a good idea to review your answers. A good option might be to show all the questions on one page, so you can just scroll down the page and see how you did. Also know that I'm not going to get any feedback about those questions I didn't attempt. All right, once I've finished reviewing, click on Finish Review, and there will be a button here. Your button will say Reattempt Quiz. So if you need to reattempt the quiz, if you didn't get that 80%, that's what you will click on to try again. There are more questions in our question bank than there are questions on the quiz, so the next quiz you take is going to look different than the one you just took. Okay, even though it's the same content. Okay, that's my spiel. I'm going to give you guys some time to log on. From the login page, if you are new to MPC Online, dang it. name is your student ID. Let me know if you're not familiar with your student ID. The default password is change me. All lowercase, all one word. So if you've never logged on to MPC Online, this is going to be your default password. And from there, you will be prompted to change the password to something that's more meaningful to you. Remember, your assignment for this week is that syllabus quiz. So hopefully, all of you will be logged on before you leave today, and a majority of you will have finished that quiz. Remember, the quiz requires 100%. So even if you miss one, you will have to retake it. So go slowly, use your syllabus, ask me questions, and make sure you're reading all of the options before you make a guess. Okay? Yes?
How do I log into this computer?
Oh, are you locked out of the screen then? So you